Samsung just launched the Samsung S26 series. There's actually a whole lot being said about this particular new range of smartphones, and in this video I'm going to be talking about some of the main things Samsung actually talked about on this video without wasting your time. And here it is. So now, one of the first things Samsung talked about was the privacy display, which I think is actually a cool feature whereby you can be able to reduce your screen, unlike just like your privacy protector, just the way you fix your privacy protector. But with this, you can be able to adjust the display, the privacy, just in case maybe you are in a public place, you don't want people to actually see what you are doing on your phone. You can adjust it, and you can set the privacy, you can adjust it to suit your taste, and you can also adjust it on different apps, maybe just in case you receive a notification whereby you don't want people to actually see what you are operating, or maybe the notification that just comes to your phone. You can be able to adjust that. That is one of the key features in which I see about this particular Samsung S26 Ultra or S26 series, which was launched by Samsung. Now, the next thing which I'm somehow disappointed is the fact that on the battery aspect, now we've seen a whole lot of these Chinese smartphones like Xiaomi, Redmi, and other smartphones which we can talk about that are actually creating bigger batteries, because I think this is actually the right time for some new upgrade by Samsung, and most especially these two smartphone giants, Samsung and iPhone. Now, for Samsung, for the S26 Ultra, Samsung actually did the same thing which they've been doing in time past, which is the 5000 milliamp battery. For Christ's sake, this is 2026. I expect better from Samsung, but they're still giving us the 5000 milliamp battery. Yes, I get the fact that when you do something which is good, you need to do what, double down on it or keep doing it. But this is actually the time for them to upgrade, because we have these smartphones, these other Chinese smartphones that are actually giving us better battery life, because I think is actually necessary at this time in which we find ourselves. It's not just having a smartphone that the battery goes down very fast, but you need a very strong battery. So I expected them to at least upgrade the battery capacity to maybe something like 7,000 or 6,000. But at the end of the day, I find out that they are still doing the same thing. So now, another thing Samsung did was doing or playing the same game that iPhone did. I'll explain. Now, as at last year, iPhone launched the aluminum. They brought back the old system of using aluminum for their housing, or for the housing of the smartphone. Now, I get it. I get the fact that aluminum makes the phone cooler, maybe due to one or two, but Samsung has been known for using the titanium, which I think has been their flagship. That has been their what we know Samsung for. Now, for the S26 Ultra, oh god, Samsung brought back aluminum. Almost the same thing iPhone did last year. At first I was insulting iPhone, thinking that iPhone, why should you do this, why should you do that, thinking that Samsung is going to do better. Now Samsung did what gave us back our aluminum. I understand the reason why they brought back, maybe due to the cooling system for the phone not to overheat, due to the new features, AI phone features and all that. I get it, but I expected them to continue with the titanium, because I think the titanium material is actually a flagship material, but I believe they have their own personal reason for doing that. So now the next thing is the fact that Samsung now reduced the size of their smartphone, comparing it to the S25 Ultra to the S26. They made it slimmer, which is 7.9 mm, unlike the 8.2 mm which they did on the Samsung S25 Ultra. They brought it to 7.9. That's making the phone slimmer, but I think with that it doesn't affect anything. There's actually no changes. But I think nowadays we usually have slimmer smartphones. I think that is the new trend. That is what most of these smartphone companies like iPhone and Samsung and some of the other smartphone companies are actually doing. That's introducing the slimmer smartphone. The slimness is not a problem, but what matters more is the functionalities. If after reducing the slimness of the smartphone, are they going to function perfectly okay compared to the older ones in which they did in the time past. Now, another thing is the fact that Samsung now increase the charging watts, whereby with the S26 Ultra it can now charge at 60 watts, and the S26 Plus can now charge at 45 watts, and the S20 can now charge as 25 watts. That's just the charging. Now, one of the most important things which a whole lot of people are complaining is the price of this smartphone. Now, for the Samsung S26, it goes for $899. Now, for the S26 Plus, it goes for $1,099. All these are in dollars. And for the S26 Ultra, it goes for $1,299, which is actually higher comparing it to the old price which Samsung usually puts their smartphone. This is actually higher compared to the old ones. Yes, I get it due to inflation and all that things going on all around the world, but I think this is actually not the right time, because there's actually no fucking special thing about the S26 Ultra, for God's sake, guys. I really don't see so much beauty on the Samsung S26 Ultra or the S26 series, but I get it. It's a flagship phone, so they had to increase the price, and I get it, guys. I get the reason why they did that, but I have no choice to complain. So now, the last but not the least is this particular APV recording that was introduced by Samsung, which is higher than the HDR. While you are doing your video recording, it doesn't reduce your video quality and all that. It gives you perfect picture and perfect video while you're making your videos and all that. These are all the things which I can take from the Samsung S26 series launch. I think that's all, guys. If there's any other thing which I think which they talked about, you can let me know at the comment section, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.